Most traders enter the market believing they are building a system, when in reality they are collecting tools. They read books, test indicators, watch endless strategy videos, and slowly convince themselves that knowledge equals structure. It doesn't. You can study Ichimoku, memorize Fibonacci levels, master RSI divergences, understand MACD crossovers, and still not have a trading system. Because a system is not a collection of indicators. It is a structured framework built on foundations that cannot collapse under pressure. When I first started trading, I believed what most beginners believe. If I could just find the right strategy, everything would click. So I searched. I added indicators. I changed templates. I adjusted settings. My charts looked sophisticated, colorful, complex, impressive. But inside my mind, there was no clarity, only noise. One indicator said buy, another said wait. A third suggested overbought, a fourth confirmed momentum. I stood there feeling analytical, but I was emotionally confused. And confusion in trading is expensive. The market didn't punish me with one dramatic loss, it punished me slowly. Small mistakes, emotional exits, hesitation, overconfidence, cutting winners too early, letting losers grow too big, repeating the cycle. Lose, search for a better strategy. Try it, lose again. Doubt everything. Repeat. At some point, I had to face a simple but brutal question. Do I even know what the market is doing right now? Is price trending up, down, or moving sideways? It sounds basic, almost too basic. But failing to answer that question clearly cost me more than any bad indicator ever did. Because without context, tools are useless. Indicators don't create clarity. They reflect what already exists. And if you don't understand the environment you're trading in, every signal becomes misleading. That was the moment I realized something important. Trading is not a game of finding the best tool. It is a game of building a complete system. And a complete system stands on pillars. Hard work doesn't matter. Even discipline doesn't matter. Because you're executing something incomplete. Most traders fail not because they lack effort, but because they build on unstable ground. A complete system requires structure, not decoration. It requires knowing what you are doing before you act. It requires rules that survive emotional pressure. And that realization shifts everything. Because once you understand that trading is structural, not magical, you stop chasing secrets. You stop believing someone else has access to hidden knowledge. You stop thinking the next indicator will save you. You begin asking better questions. What is the market state? What is my plan inside that state? Does my system have a long-term edge? Without answering these clearly, trading becomes disguised gambling, intellectualized gambling, but gambling nonetheless. Most traders wander for years because they never stop to examine their foundation. They focus on tactics instead of structure, and structure is what separates survival from destruction. Once you accept that trading requires a foundation, the first pillar becomes obvious: understanding market structure. The market only exists in three states: uptrend, downtrend, or sideways. That's it. But most traders treat the market like it has infinite conditions. It doesn't. It has infinite patterns within three core environments. In an uptrend, price forms higher highs and higher lows. Momentum supports continuation. Pullbacks often provide opportunity. In a downtrend, price forms lower highs and lower lows. Selling pressure dominates. Rallies often become traps. In a sideways market, price moves within a range, momentum fades. Breakouts fail. Signals conflict. When you don't identify which state you're in, everything becomes random. Indicators are not wrong, they are misused. Imagine trying to sail without knowing which direction the current flows. It doesn't matter how advanced your boat is. If you paddle against the current, exhaustion is guaranteed. Many traders fight trends because of ego. Why want to call tops, they want to call bottoms, they want to feel smart. But the market does not reward intelligence. It rewards alignment. Once you identify trend correctly, your system gains clarity, but clarity alone is not enough. You must define action. A system without defined entry, stop loss and take profit rules is not a system. It's a suggestion. Entry must be rule-based, not emotional, not it looks good. If the condition appears, you enter. If it doesn't, you wait. Stop loss must be predetermined. Before the trade is placed, you already know where you are wrong. No negotiation. No, maybe it will bounce. No moving it because it feels uncomfortable. Take profit must also be defined, either by structure, risk to reward ratio, or system logic. But it must be decided before emotion interferes. When entry, stop, and target are defined before execution, something powerful happens. You remove ambiguity. And ambiguity is where fear lives. But even with perfect structure, one more pillar determines whether you survive. Probability. Trading is not about individual trades, it is about sequences. A single trade proves nothing. 5 trades prove nothing. Even 10 trades prove little. Edge is revealed over dozens, hundreds of repetitions. Many traders obsess over win rate. They chase 80% systems. But win rate alone is meaningless. If you win 80% of trades but your losses are 5 times larger than your wins, you will eventually collapse. Edge is mathematical expectancy. Over time, does your average win outweigh your average loss enough to produce growth? That is the only question that matters. And this requires testing, journaling, reviewing, adjusting based on data, not emotion. Most traders skip this part because it's boring. They prefer excitement, but excitement is expensive. Probability only works when you allow repetition. You cannot judge a coin after 3 flips. You must let the system play out. When you understand this deeply, losing streaks no longer shake you. Winning streaks no longer inflate you. Each trade becomes one event in a long series, and that psychological shift is maturity. By now, you may understand something that most traders take years to realize. The market is not your real opponent. You are. Not in a motivational sense. Not in a dramatic sense. In a structural sense. Because once you have a defined trend framework, clear entry rules, strict stop-loss placement, logical take-profit targets, positive expectancy, and proper risk management, the only variable left is behavior. And behavior under pressure reveals identity. Trading exposes impatience. It exposes ego. It exposes fear of missing out. It exposes the need to feel smart. The market is a mirror. It does not attack you. It reflects, yo. When you rush into trades, it reflects impatience. When you refuse to cut losses, it reflects ego. When you hesitate on valid setups, it reflects fear. When you overtrade in sideways conditions, it reflects the need for stimulation. Many traders believe they are fighting the market. In reality, they are fighting their own impulses. And here is the uncomfortable truth. A complete trading system forces you to confront yourself. Because once the rules are clear, you can no longer blame confusion. If your system says enter and you hesitate, that's you. If your system says exit and you delay, that's you. If your system says no trade and you click anyway, that's you. At that point, trading stops being technical and becomes psychological. This is where maturity begins. Maturity in trading means accepting that you will be wrong. Often, it means understanding that losses are not personal attacks. They are statistical events. It means recognizing that boredom is not a signal to act. It means respecting repetition more than excitement. The amateur trader seeks stimulation. The mature trader seeks execution. The amateur trader wants to feel right. The mature trader focuses on this trade. The mature trader focuses on the next 100 trades. And this shift in time horizon changes everything. When you think short term, every loss feels heavy. Very win feels euphoric. Every drawdown feels threatening. When you think long term, each trade becomes small. Small risk, small event, small data point. You begin to detach. Detachment does not mean you don't care. It means you care about the process more than the outcome. Most traders sabotage themselves during winning periods, not losing ones. After a few wins, confidence rises. Position size increases. Rules bend slightly. Risk expands quietly. And then one loss wipes out weeks of discipline. That is not a system failure. That is emotional expansion. It pays those who can repeat simple behavior without distortion. Another truth many traders resist is this. Growth in trading is slow, not in learning, not in understanding. But in equity growth, sustainable trading rarely looks dramatic. It looks boring, gradual, controlled. Social media celebrates massive wins. It does not show controlled consistency. But controlled consistency is what builds longevity. And longevity is the real goal. Because your edge only works if you are still in the game. You do not need to maximize profits every month. You need to avoid destruction every year. Think of trading like running a business. A restaurant owner does not panic because one day had fewer customers. They do not double food prices because yesterday was profitable. They do not abandon the business because of one bad week. They manage cash flow. They control costs. They refine operations. They survive. Trading is no different. Capital is inventory. Risk is cost. Edge is business advantage. Discipline is management. Without management, even a strong business fails. Without discipline, even a strong trading system collapses. Another shift happens when you truly internalize probability. You stop taking losses personally. You stop celebrating wins excessively. You stop measuring yourself by daily results. Instead, you measure execution quality. Did I follow the system? Did I respect risk? Did I avoid emotional interference? If yes, then the trade was successful, regardless of outcome. This mindset frees you, because now your confidence no longer depends on whether price moved in your favor. It depends on whether you acted correctly. And acting correctly is fully within your control. When you reach this stage, something subtle but powerful changes. You stop chasing the Holy Grail. You understand there is no perfect system. Every system has drawdowns. Every system has losing streaks. Every system has periods of underperformance. The goal is not perfection. The goal is robustness. A robust system can survive volatility. A robust trader can survive emotions. And robustness is built through repetition, reflection, and restraint. There will always be new strategies, new indicators, new market theories. But none of them replace structure, probability, and discipline. If you lack those, no tool saves you. If you have those, most tools become optional. At the highest level, trading becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. Identify environment. Wait for alignment. Execute rules. Manage risk. Repeat. No drama. No hero trades. No revenge trading. Just controlled repetition. And here is the final layer of maturity. Acceptance. That uncertainty never disappears. Acceptance that losses are inevitable. Acceptance that patience is uncomfortable. When you stop resisting these realities, trading becomes lighter. Not easier, but lighter. Because now you are not trying to control the uncontrollable. You are controlling what is controllable, your entries, your size, your behavior. Everything else belongs to the market. In the end, trading is not about becoming rich quickly. It is about becoming stable mentally. Money follows stability. Stability follows structure. Structure follows humility. And humility is the ability to say, I do not control outcomes. I control execution. Once that becomes your identity, trading stops feeling like a battlefield. It becomes a profession, quiet, structured, repeatable. And over time, that quiet repetition builds something powerful. Not just an account. Balance, but a disciplined mind. That is the real evolution. Not from losing to winning, but from reacting to executing. There comes a stage in every trader's journey where the technical side is no longer the main issue. You understand trend. You understand entries. You respect stop loss. You've tested your edge. You know probability matters. And yet something still feels fragile. That fragility is not in the system. It's in stability. Because building a system is one thing. Becoming unshakable inside that system is another. Most traders operate in cycles of intensity. They start motivated, focused, disciplined. They follow rules carefully for 2 weeks, maybe a month. Then a losing streak hits. Doubt begins whispering. Maybe this system isn't good enough. Maybe market conditions changed. Maybe I should tweak the entry slightly. And slowly, small adjustments begin. Not dramatic changes, small ones. A slightly wider stop, a slightly earlier entry, a slightly larger position size to recover faster. These small cracks are how accounts eventually collapse. Longevity in trading is not built through intensity. It is built through emotional stability. And emotional stability is built through identity. If you still see yourself as someone trying to win big, your behavior will always distort under pressure. If you see yourself as a risk manager executing a statistical model, your behavior becomes calmer. Professional traders do not think in terms of excitement. They think in terms of exposure. They don't ask, how much can I make? They ask, how much am I risking? They think, does this fit the model? That shift in language changes psychology. Because trading is not about prediction, it is about risk distribution. When you truly internalize that, fear begins to shrink. Fear comes from uncertainty combined with emotional attachment. But if every trade is predefined risk, and that risk is small relative to your capital, then fear loses intensity. You already accepted the loss before entering. You already decided what happens if you are wrong. There is nothing to negotiate, and negotiation is what destroys discipline. Many traders lose not because their strategy is bad, but because they negotiate with their own rules. They say, just this once I'll take a trade outside my plan. But trading does not forgive just this once. And identity determines behavior under stress. If your identity becomes, I follow my system no matter what, then even during emotional spikes, that identity protects you. But if your identity becomes, I follow my system, unless I feel strongly, then emotions will always override logic. This is why consistency is not mechanical. It is personal. You are not building a strategy. You are building self-trust. Every time you follow your rules despite discomfort, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you break them, you weaken it. And self-trust is more valuable than any indicator, because without self-trust, you hesitate on valid trades. Without self-trust, you exit winners too early. Without self-trust, you panic during drawdowns. But when self-trust is strong, something changes. You no longer obsess over individual outcomes. You understand variance. You understand that even a strong system can lose 5, 6, 7 trades in a row. And that does not mean failure. It means probability unfolding. Another layer of longevity is capital preservation. Most traders secretly focus on growth first. How fast can I scale this account? How do I ensure I survive worst-case scenarios? Because survival is the foundation of compounding. Compounding only works if you are still in the game. Large risk feels exciting in the short term. Small risk feels boring, but boring builds equity curves that survive years. Exciting builds equity curves that spike, then disappear. There is also a psychological trap in comparison. You see other traders posting wins. You see screenshots, big days, big percentages. You begin questioning your steady, slow growth. But what you don't see is their risk profile, their drawdowns, their volatility. Comparison creates impatience. Impatience leads to deviation. Deviation leads to destruction. Longevity requires detachment from external noise. Your system does not care what someone else made today. Your probability does not adjust because someone posted a winning trade. Your job is execution, not comparison. Another powerful shift happens when you stop trying to eliminate losses. Losses are not the enemy. Uncontrolled losses are. A good system with strict risk management can lose many times and still grow. A reckless trader can win many times and still implode. So instead of asking, how do I avoid losing? Because controlled losses are business expenses, and business expenses are planned. This mindset removes drama. Drama in trading is costly. Calm repetition is profitable. Over time, if you maintain structure, respect probability, and execute with discipline, you will notice something subtle. Your emotional range narrows. Big wins don't inflate you. Losses don't crush you. Flat periods don't frustrate you. You become steady, and steadiness is rare. The market shakes most people out not because it is impossible, but because it is emotionally demanding. It demands patience when there is nothing to do. It demands action when there is fear. It demands humility when you are wrong. It demands restraint when you are right. Few people are willing to develop those traits long enough, but those who do stop viewing trading as a battlefield. It becomes a structured profession. You wake up, you analyze environment, you wait for alignment, you execute if allowed, you log results, you disconnect. No obsession, no emotional spirals, no revenge trading, just process. And process is what creates longevity. Longevity is what allows edge to compound. Compounding is what creates meaningful wealth. Not one massive trade, but thousands of disciplined decisions stacked together. In the end, the final evolution in trading is not becoming smarter. It is becoming stable. Stable in ISK, stable in behavior, stable in expectations, When you reach that stage, you no longer chase the market, you let it come to you. And when it aligns with your system, you act. When it doesn't, you wait. That is what it means to become unshakable, not immune to emotion, but no longer controlled by it. And that is when trading transforms from stressful uncertainty into structured opportunity.